This is lesson 3.4, Equations of Lines. Your objectives are to write equations of lines and to use equations to solve problems. You can write an equation of a line if you're given the slope and the y-intercept, or the slope and the coordinates of a point on the line, or the coordinates of 2 points on the line. If m is the slope of a line, b is its y-intercept, and the coordinates x1, y1 is a point on the line, then slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1. So when these equations are written out, x and y will still be x and y, and the other variables will have numbers in their place. Make sure your answers are in simplest form. Don't have 0 times something or something plus 0 or 1 times something or any minus and negatives. Always change it to simplest form. Write an equation in slope-intercept form of the line having the given slope and y-intercept or given points. Then graph the line. Number 1. The slope is 2, the y-intercept is negative 3. So we want y equals mx plus b. Since the slope is 2, we'll substitute 2 in for m. And b is negative 3, so we'll substitute negative 3 for b. Now simplify it. Instead of saying 2x plus negative 3, let's call it 2x minus 3 and get it in simplest form. For the graph, we need to plot a point first, and the point we know is the y-intercept at negative 3. The slope is 2, which we can make a fraction, 2 over 1, and rise over run. From the y-intercept, we will rise 2, run 1, put a point, and connect the dots. So substitute your values in, plot a point at the y-intercept, use your slope to find the next point, and connect the dots. Number 2, a line with a slope of negative 1/2 and a y-intercept of 4. We need y equals mx plus b. We'll substitute in. Y equals, m is negative 1/2, x plus b is 4. That's simplified already, so the equation is finished. Now graph it. The y-intercept is 4, that's our starting point. Go to 4 on the y-axis. Now use your slope, negative 1/2. When it's negative, apply the negative to the numerator. Negative 1 over 2. We will rise negative 1, which is down 1, run 2, put a point, connect the dots. Notice it slants downward left to right because the slope is negative. It's a good way to check your work. Number 4. Let's do a line with a slope of 0 and a y-intercept of negative 2. Substitute in. Y equals, m is 0, x plus b is negative 2. This definitely needs simplified. 0 times x is 0, and then 0 plus negative 2 is just negative 2. So y equals negative 2 is our answer. Now graph it. Plot the y-intercept of negative 2. And lines with a slope of 0, those are horizontal lines. So draw a horizontal line through that point. Remember, slope of 0 is a horizontal line. An undefined slope would be a vertical line, but a slope of 0 is horizontal. And when a line is horizontal, its equation will simply be y equals a number, and it will be a horizontal line through that number, in this case, through negative 2. Number 6. Let's do a line with a slope of negative 3, and it goes through the point 1 comma negative 11. Now on the last one, we knew what the y-intercept was because x was 0. On this one, x is not 0, it's something else. So we'll have to work this one a different way. That's a x comma y, so x is going to be 1, and y is negative 11. In the equation y equals mx plus b, I now know what y is, I know m, and I know x. I can substitute those values in and solve for b. So, y is negative 11 equals m is negative 3, x is 1, plus b. And now I have an equation that I can solve for b. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. Add 3 to each side, and b is negative 8. Now, substitute into the formula. So y equals m is negative 3, x plus b is negative 8. And let's simplify that. Instead of saying negative 3x plus negative 8, let's say negative 3x minus 8. So again, we found b because we knew m, x, and y. Substitute those values in, and then solve the equation for b. If they don't give you b, you can find it that way when they give you a slope and a point on the line. Now graph it. The y-intercept is negative 8, so go to negative 8 on the y-axis, and the slope is negative 3, which you can put over 1, rise over run, go down 3, 1 to the right, put a point, and connect the dots. So for each of these, y equals mx plus b. Substitute in m and substitute in b, and then plot the y-intercept and use the slope to find your next point and connect the dots. Write an equation in point-slope form of the line having the given slope that contains the given point. Then graph the line. Number 7. A line with a slope of half, and it goes through the point 3, negative 1. Well, 3 is your x1, negative 1 is your y1. So let's substitute in. Y minus y1 is negative 1 equals m is 1/2, parentheses, x minus x1 is 3. Now simplify it. Instead of saying y minus negative 1, say y plus 1. And that's point-slope form. Now graph it. Start at the point they give you, 3, negative 1, and then use the slope to find the next point. Rise over run. Rise 1, run 2. Put another point, and connect the dots. So substitute in, make sure it's simplified, be careful with your minus signs, and then graph it. Number 9, the slope is negative 1, and it goes through the point negative 1, 3. x1 is negative 1, y1 is 3. Let's substitute in. Y minus y1 is 3 equals m is negative 1, parentheses, x minus x1 is negative 1. Now simplify that. Instead of saying negative 1 times the quantity, let's just say negative the quantity. The same reason you don't say negative 1x, you just say negative x. So we have negative the quantity, and instead of x minus negative 1, we'll say x plus 1. There's point-slope form. Now graph it. Start at the point negative 1, 3, and use your slope. Put the negative 1 over 1 to get a fraction, and rise over run. Rise down 1 over 1. Put a point, connect the dots. Our slope is negative, and our line tilts down left to right. It's a good way to check your work. Number 10. The slope is 1/4, and it goes through the point -3, -2. x1 is -3, y1 is -2. So substitute in. Y minus y1 is -2 equals m is 1/4, parentheses, x minus x1 is -3. Now simplify it. Instead of saying y minus -2, say y plus 2. Instead of x minus -3, say x plus 3. And there's point slope form. Always simplify it. Graph it. First plot the point -3, -2, and then use your slope to find the next point. Slope is 1/4, so we rise 1, run 4, put another point, and connect the dots. This has a positive slope, so it should go up from left to right. It's a good way to check your work.